Welcome to Study with the Best, the magazine show that's all about CUNY. I'm Tina Beth Pina. On today's show, artists across the CUNY spectrum. We'll watch choreographer Vicky Schick in action, listen to the poetry of Nina Alexander, look at the paintings of Kerry Moyer, and so much more. But first, choreographer Vicky Schick has been called masterly and meticulous. With over 30 years of dancing experience, she's as vibrant and relevant as ever.
Dancing is not a hobby for me. It is like the most important thing to me after my family and friendships. And it's my passion, it's my work. My name is Vicky Schick, and I'm a 63-year-old dancer, performer, choreographer, teacher living in New York City. I don't even know if it was my parents who enrolled me in ballet school or I wanted to go, but whoever it was, I got hooked right away. I was incredibly shy, and somehow being in the dance studio gave me some kind of freedom or some way to be in the world that felt comfortable. I was lucky. I've worked with some very special people who really have altered the face of dance in New York. I was in the Trisha Brown Dance Company from 1980 to 86, and that was a life-altering experience. I can't even put into words what I learned from Trisha Brown, but one thing for sure was the beauty of rigor and work and attention to detail, plus seeing a woman with so much passion and spirit and enthusiasm and courage also was a lesson unto itself. For about 20 years, I have made dances with two wonderful collaborators, artist Barbara Kilpatrick and composer Elise Kermani, and I've worked with many, many wonderful dancers who mostly are also my close friends, and their ages range from 30 to 70. So I just want to say that these are incredible women, incredible dancers. I am the luckiest person in the world. I look for dancers who are full of life, who are individual, and where you can feel them, where you can feel their sensuality and their blood and their thoughts, that you can read them, that you can read their humanity, and they look like real people. And they're also extremely gifted, trained dancers.
I danced with Vicky for 5 years, with her as my mentor, which I'm very grateful for. And she just has this like deep well of knowledge in her body. And just getting to dance next to her is like the biggest lesson.
The fact that she loves movement, which I really love movement. Being able to use and be very smart about how you move your body as opposed to just putting limbs in space.
I'm interested in humanity, the humanness of the performers and the humanness of the piece that I am making, something that says that you feel something. I'm interested in intimacy. That's a big deal for me, like trying for intimacy with the audience by creating intimacy with the performers, and I like to highlight that. I've been very lucky. I am an adjunct at Hunter College for 14 years. I teach a technique class, and what is wonderful about Hunter is the diverse population. A student at Hunter asked me, how did I get work before there was internet? And I thought, wow, that's kind of a nutty question, but I thought, wow, it's a question that really makes sense, because that is how people do things now. Like you're on the web, you have a website. More important, and the crux of the matter, is the time that one actually spends doing the work. like being in a studio, going to classes. Finding movement is like doing research. You're trying this, you're trying that, it's not working. You know, it's about the rigor in the work.
Art critics have praised Carrie Moyer's paintings for their complexity and for their unapologetic visual pleasure. With a rich spectrum of imagery, Moyer wants her canvases to power a slow, immersive experience.
I'm very interested in the sort of pleasure of opticality. Part of what I'm trying to do with the paintings is cause the viewer to slow down and really look at something. We're really used to looking at things and consuming media, and you know, we're really good at this point at sort of understanding and reading imagery. But my goal is to sort of get you to slow down and have a kind of bodily experience with the paintings. With my work, I've been thinking a lot about people who painted in the 60s and 70s, like Helen Frankenthaler, Kenneth Noland, Morris Louis. They were called color field painters. And they were the ones who basically invented, Frankenthaler was the one who invented this idea of just pouring onto raw canvas to make a mark. I'm making things that give certain cues to a set of ideas. So like in this painting, there's something that feels like a kind of cloud that's over this form where, you know, this could be rain, it could be fire, it could be, you know, that could be a tongue, that could be a sort of rooster's crown, or it could be a kind of decoration. Those things are put in the painting on purpose. It's like I'm not trying to make an obscure language. I'm trying to like sort of throw things out at you for you to sort of grab onto and, you know, come with me into the painting. So I've gone through different bodies of work. I had a whole period of my painting where I was really interested in like ancient ceramics. And I wanted to use sort of vessels and things that were reminiscent of the human body but weren't pictures of the body to evoke a kind of presence in the paintings even though they were abstract. So it's like there's a kind of trace of either a symbolic use of a body like an ancient vase that may be in a sort of curved form, or an instrument or a cup, or, you know, different things that call to mind the body without a picture of a person actually being in the painting. So that's been a really important part of my evolution as an artist. The amazing thing about painting is that you're actually seeing one person's idea, and there's only one of them in the whole world. You know, we have this notion that originality isn't possible because there are so many artists and different people making things now, but in truth, when somebody makes a painting, there's only one of those paintings. So it's this really singular way of communicating with people. It's almost like beyond value. It's a sort of critical activity that gives a great deal of pleasure to the person who makes it, and hopefully to the audience. I'm getting ready to have a show in Syracuse, a 3-person show at the Everson Museum. And next summer I'll be in a show at the George O'Keeffe Museum. So I'm very excited about that.
Up next, Regret the Hour. They're an up-and-coming indie band from Nyack, New York with a unique sound and a unique story.
I think it wasn't until like sophomore or junior year of high school that we'd be driving down to the city from Nyack to play like gigs at like Arlene's Grocery and Kenny's Castaways, which is now closed.
Yeah,
some of those
definitely.
Greenwich Village spots. Ben and I were brothers. Our parents used to play a lot of music growing up. Bob Dylan, Van Morrison, Neil Young. Our dad used to drive us around in his car when we were like babies and play us all those records. The demos that we were recording in Anders's basement in high school sort of blew up on the internet, on YouTube, especially the one song, The Runaway, that like fueled the support for our first record, which is all home recorded in this abandoned factory building in our town, which is now demolished.
I think like Ben and Nate, guitar-wise, have like for years been like kind of working on this sound between their two guitars and the way that the guitars work together. There's definitely a tone and a style. I think we tend to be more like melody focused and sort of sound focused in terms of the tones of the instruments, or like a beat or something like that. That seems to be the starting place more often than not. If a melody is really good, the lyrics may not even necessarily be like finalized until, like, say we're gonna go in and do the recording that we think might be like a recording for the record.
Difficulty of, I guess, writing from personal experience is like figuring out how to make other people like sort of understand or be able to like appreciate what you're writing about, and have it not be like so like self-indulgent, and just being able to like look at something in pure and simple amazement, I guess.
You like work really hard and you spend a lot of hours writing these songs, and then finally you just go up on stage for like 40 minutes or so and just play them for people. We're also getting like more disciplined about not saying a song is finished, you know, like really putting in the time to make it exactly the way we want. Because when we were younger, we would have, you know, a verse and a chorus and be like, all right, yeah, we got a song, let's play it, let's record it. But now we're really focusing and making the songs as good as we possibly can.
I think there's also though sort of a difficulty to that, because like as in high school or as kids, when you're writing together in a basement, you're not consciously thinking about like how the song should sound or how it's going to be received. Whereas now, just like, you know, writing and recording at the studio in Brooklyn, where like a lot of sort of hip bands are passing through, you know, every decision is whether you're consciously or not, like you're thinking about, you know, how it's going to be received. I think there's definitely like a trend towards a trend toward
without offending a lot of people.
Sort of towards being like ironic and feeling a need to like compulsory like irony and everything having to be like a joke and not being able to take things seriously. We definitely sort of just feel like, you know, it has to have heart and purpose in it. Our original, sort of like one of the founding members, our bass player, Jesse, he was diagnosed with cancer when we were juniors in high school, and we continued playing music that year, and like he would go from like chemotherapy sessions to like rehearsals and shows, and we did some recording. The first record, full-length album that we put out, Better Days, that has the Walls and the Runaway on it, was recorded when he went into remission, and his hair started growing back in. It was just like it was a sort of a good time for everyone. Right after that was finished, like almost like a few weeks after that, like his cancer came back, and like a month later he was, a month and a half later he was dead.
I think none of us like knew how serious it was, because like I think the songs were also about us like dealing with that, even if it was like
not a conscious thing.
Yeah, not a conscious thing.
The right mind for creating art? Queens College art education professor Ricky Asher guides us through.
We're going to try our best to draw minus our own judgment, right? Aren't we our worst judges, right? I know I'm my worst judge. And so if we can quiet that judging mind that says, oh, you know, you can't draw. Oh, you know, look at his drawing. He's really good. Oh, you know, well, you know what? Be quiet, because I'm not going to listen to you right now. I have to breathe, and I have to do my own drawing. And we can do that. We can do that. It sounds kind of funny, but once we start to do that more and more and more, that judging mind starts to be quiet. How does mindfulness play a role in art? Without calling it mindfulness, we started to do something called the art of perception, where instead of just starting to draw, we would follow our breath first. We would relax our body. We would relax our hand, and maybe even do some exercises in the air first without a pencil or anything. And those exercises were about an awareness of the lines that you could make without making a line. And now that you've drawn the shape, draw some of the lines in the air first. And now the texture of this thing. And it could either be with the point of your pencil or the side of your pencil or a combination of both. Okay? And now put your pencil down for a moment and breathe. Just notice your breath. Notice the object, and whenever you're ready, begin to draw your object. If you feel your body starting to get tense, just stop for a moment and breathe, and then pick up the pencil again. Just try to rest in the seeing without judging or wishing it were different. See here now, to be able to be here in this space and time, not worry what it's going to look like, not worry if you've never done a drawing before, if you've done one 10 years ago, but just to be here now. So when you can let go of that habit of thinking about what you're doing or what you're seeing or feeling, then you're really able to rest in the seeing. And then the drawing comes to life.
Alexander has had a long and distinguished career as a poet and as an academic. But what specifically draws her to poetry?
In a poem, there is always that present moment, which is terribly important, through which memory works. Grandmother's sari, freckles of gold poured into silk. Coil's cries, scrap of khadi, grandfather's spun. I pluck all this from my suitcase, its buckles dented, zipper torn. Also, pictures pressed into an album, parents by a rose bush, ancestors startled in sepia, eyes wide open. Why have you brought us here? I wanted actually to join the circus, and I wanted to kind of go on one of these tightrope things. I think I found in writing poetry a way to sort of make a world that was in my own head and words danced around, which is what I love about the poem. Something that you smell or touch or taste. Now, maybe just, I don't know, the taste of the ginger in this water. And it may connect up in my memory to some other taste. And that way a whole world opens up. And I think it is a sensorial art. I always have a little notebook that I put in my purse. Then I have a bigger book. I type things up and I stick it into it. I want to look at it, which is why I paste it into the notebook. I'm very envious of visual artists because they've got all this materiality and we just have bits of paper. I have lines of poems, lines that might become poems. I always tell my students that you should write things down because poetry is a poor art in the sense that we don't have an extravagance of words. We have a few that come to us and then we work them. That there's something in the lyric moment that really ruptures the taken for grantedness of the world, and something just bursts out, a kind of image. And this is really a way of remaking our sense of ourselves in the world.
White iris, the color of your eyes before you were born.
A poem of mine was set to music by an Austrian composer, Stefan Heckel, performed in Jerusalem. There you can understand each word. It was sung by a bass baritone from the Berlin Lyric Opera, Christian von Oldenburg. You could understand every single word because that was the way the music was composed. They were singing the poem, but of course, when things are set to music, a word might be repeated or a syllable. At first, I thought it was in Swedish, but they said, no, 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 it's the English. So then I listened carefully, and it was the English. I wrote a poem called Fragment in Praise of the Book, which is what this piece that Jessica Ferguson did. She fragmented the poem so that pieces of it are hung together in separate ways, not necessarily the way that they are in the poem. It's part of an exhibit called the Al-Mutanabi Street exhibit. And Al-Mutanabi Street was a street in Baghdad that was of booksellers that was blown up. Book with a word for love in all the languages that flow through me. Book made of leaves from a mango tree. Book of rice paper tossed by monsoon winds. Book of pearls from grandmother's wrist. Book of bottle glass rinsed by the sea. Book of the illiterate heart. Book of alphabets burnt so the truth can be told. Book of fire on Al-Mutanabi Street. Book for a child who wakes to smoldering ash. Book of singing grief. Book of reeds vanishing as light pours through. Poetry in the end, I think, is an art of silence. It might seem a very strange thing to say, but if you did not have silence, you could not have poetry. We use words all the time in sound bites and in arguments and politics. Really, a poet uses words in a way that a painter uses color. You have to wash the words and put them against the background of silence. Otherwise, the poem could not come into existence.
That's our show for today. For more information on any of our stories, log on to our website at cuny.tv or check out our Study with the Best Facebook page. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.